Hall, Romero and Carmack asked for $2,000 to get their game off the ground. Miller had $5,000 in the bank. He promptly cut them a check for 2/5 of that. For 3 months, the trio programmed for soft disk during the day and slaved away at Commander Keen invasion of the Vorticons in every free moonlighting moment. They were young, impetuous, full of caffeinated vigour, and enjoying the boundless energy that comes with being unknowing slaves of the Dark Masters. But, as good as they were, the Dark Ones required more souls. Find recruits, eat more brains. They did as they were bade. They had long admired the artistry of an intern at Softdisk, a Shreveport youth named Adrian Carmack. I hate to say it, but I must. It is required by law at this point. Adrian Carmack and John Carmack are not related. Yet, in this apparently innocent coincidence, I see the blood-encrusted scratch marks of fate's black talons. They invited Adrian to join them and finished Commander Keen with significant improvements to the look of the final levels. The initial team was now complete. Apogee released the first episode of Commander Keen as shareware on December the 14th, 1990. Gamers who wanted the next 2 levels would have to pay for them, and pay they did. In January, the first royalty check arrived. It was for approximately $10,000. The 2 Johns went to lunch with the owner of Softdisk, told him they were leaving, and also informed him that Adrian was coming with them. They then returned to the office and informed Adrian that they had arranged for his resignation. As the entire design team was leaving, Adrian thought it was wise to comply. id Software was founded on February the 1st, 1991. The group still had obligations to Softdisk, which they worked to fulfill even as they established id. Tom Hall remained with Softdisk for several months, while a new development team was hired and brought up to speed. Meanwhile, out at the Lake House, evil doings were underway. The Lake House. Even those who hated Shreveport recall the Lake House through a nostalgic haze. Originally a fishing shack, which had expanded through additions, the Lake House had a pool, a dock, a whirlpool, a solarium with retractable shades, a refrigerated beer tap. Ah, those were the days. Kneeboarding and programming is not quite equal measure. Dungeons and Dragons every Saturday night. No one noticed the thick tentacles that swirled and swarmed below Jay Wilbur's speedboat and clutched hungrily at the dock as if to say, hurry up. Hasten to your dooms, puny humans. The house was inhabited by Jay, John Carmack, and 2 other roommates whose names have been expunged from these records by the munching of tiny, fiendish jaws. Wilbur, with his business background, attended to the balancing of the books and cutting of checks for id, while continuing to hold his position at Softdisk. The others programmed like maniacs, working on the Commander Keen sequels, Goodbye, Galaxy and Aliens Ate My Babysitter, laying the groundwork for the next campaign in their master plan of world dominion. The summer wound on, the money poured in, but even this bliss was not enough. They were still, after all, in Shreveport. Tom Hall was a Wisconsin boy. He began to extol the virtues of Madison to his fellows. In the heart of that summer, a trip to Wisconsin was organised. Hall, Romero, and another programmer who worked only briefly with id and was best known as the guy in his underwear, made a trek to Madison and were impressed with the town so sunny and warm and green, with its quintessential college town atmosphere. They decided to move and talked the other id gang into bringing the whole company north, but only after savouring the last bit of summer at the Lake House. In September of 1991, they moved. Jay Wilbur stayed behind. Softdisk needed him, and perhaps he suspected what lay in wait for them in the depth of a Wisconsin winter. The Shreveport locals, namely Adrian and another Softdisk artist named Kevin Cloud, thought the others were crazy to give up the Lake House, but Hall, Romero continued to praise Madison, especially the cool apartments they had found. They moved from the heart of Louisiana to the heart of winter. The frost giants seized them in icy claws. Their hands went numb at their keyboards. Adrian could scarcely feel the pencil in his grip. They turned to Tom Hall and screamed, "You tricked us!" Madison wasn't just cool anymore, it was freezing. Hall had sung the praises of the town without bums, and yet on their first outing in the town, they had seemed to encounter nothing but bums. One tried to sell Tom Hall a rag for $1. Hall pretended to examine the rag and then politely declined. "It doesn't go with anything I have." This sent the rag seller into a rage. "It's only $1, man!" To make things worse, the apartments were wretched. Romero came out one night to find cops breaking down the door of a drug dealer across the hall. Gasoline was siphoned from their cars. Adrian couldn't even find a cap for his waterbed mattress and ended up sleeping in a sleeping bag for months while he scored the area for a store that would sell him a cap without forcing him to buy an entire mattress to go along with it. One day, around Christmas, with most of the other ID members gone home for the holidays, John Carmack trudged to the bank through mounds of snow and Arctic winds, risking frostbite and hypothermia because he had no car. Entered the bank and withdrew $11,000, shivering in his Shreveport clothes caked with frost. Trudged out again to buy not a car, but a Next computer, a black box that would barely warm his hands. Even in extreme physical torment, his priorities were clear. This is also the critical period in which John Carmack formed his firm belief that people should not live in an environment hostile to human life. They lasted 6 months in Madison, working from an apartment on Fish Hatchery Road. 6 months of icy hell, as if they had found Shreveport's opposite. Yet even in the Yeti's lair, their work continued, the company grew. Following the first Commander Keen titles, it created Shadow Knight, Dangerous Dave in the Haunted Mansion, Rescue Rover, Hovertank, another Keen trilogy, Rescue Rover 2, Keen Dreams, and work began while in Wisconsin on Wolfenstein 3D. Thank you for watching the second installment in the story of id Software. You can see the first one below, you can click another video if you like. You can also share this video if you fancy it because that helps me tremendously. Or you can contribute towards my Patreon. Or you can just leave, whatever you fancy really. In any case, thank you very much for watching and good night.